find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
I'm Mandy.
And I'm Avery.
We're the hosts and creators of Thick Thighs and Creepy Vibes.
Join us as we take a deep dive into the macabre and the unexplained.
Listen every Wednesday as we take you on a chilling journey that transports you to all corners of the Great White North.
Let's boot those Sunday scaries while we take a rip into the harrowing tales of the haunted and the supernatural phenomena that defy explanation.
So grab your ketchup chips
and your Caesars and make sure to
creep it real.
Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to another episode of the Identity Podcast on the Podmoth Media Network. Your foray into the weird, wonky, and sometimes downright spooky. In the early 1970s, in a remote deer hunting camp deep in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California, Ron Morehead and Al Berry captured a series of bizarre vocalizations that became known as the Sierra Sounds. These recordings, made between roughly 1972 and 1975, include whistles, whoops, growls, and speech-like samurai chatter, widely promoted as evidence of Bigfoot or Sasquatch communication. The recordings sparked both excitement in Bigfoot circles and controversy among skeptics and the scientific community. Al Berry, a Sacramento Bee investigative reporter with a Master's of Science degree, joined the first documented recording trip in 1972, accompanied by Ron Morehead, a Morehead, California businessman and outdoorsman. Berry had originally planned to debunk hunters' claims of strange creatures, but returned convinced that the sounds were genuine. They visited a remote deer camp situated between Lake Tahoe and Yosemite, often cited as in the Desolation Wilderness. Over several visits from late 1972 through fall of 1975, the team recorded bizarre vocalizations from unseen beings and cast unusually large footprints. Berry's recordings comprised the initial Bigfoot Recordings album, while Morehead later produced additional material known as Volume 2, featuring his own 1974 recordings. The Sierra Sounds cover a spectrum of unusual vocalizations. There are whistles and whoops, sharp tonal calls that echo through the forest. There are growls, grunts, and screams, deep guttural or shriek-like sounds. Then there's something called samurai chatter, which is described as rapid speech-like sequences, like a proto-language, overlapping voices and conversational patterns with humans. Morehead reportedly played back recordings at the camp, eliciting responses from the vocalizing beings, creating what Bigfoot enthusiasts call interactive audio encounters. A University of Wyoming-based engineering team, presenting at the 1978 University of British Columbia's Anthropology of the Unknown Symposium, analyzed the tapes. They determined that the voices exceeded normal human vocal range, showed no evidence of speed shifting or pre-recording, and were spontaneous at the time of capture. Longtime followers of the research consider Sierra Sounds one of the strongest audio cases for Sasquatch. Cryptolinguist Scott Nelson described the samurai chatter as structured language with nouns and verbs. and the recordings retain high esteem in many Bigfoot circles. Numerous critics challenge the authenticity of the recordings. Karen Stallsnow from Scientific American described them as likely hoaxes or misidentifications, comparing the, quote, language to an amateur's impression of proto-language, and noting that other sounds, for example knocks, can be easily faked. Grover Krantz, a Bigfoot researcher, rejected the tracks as fake and noted planted footprints in the snow. Some Reddit debates highlight the absence of ambient forest noise in the recordings, a telling flaw. Quote, "There's no ambient background noise of nature. If this was recorded outside, there would be night forest sounds." End quote. Critics further point out that Morehead never took photographs despite multiple nights of contact. Others have successfully replicated the vocalizations themselves, undercutting claims that human physiology couldn't produce the sounds. Now, when we weigh the evidence, there is some strength in support. Video evidence, tapes, and spectrograms, analyzed by experts, found voices exceeding typical human range. No evidence of editing or speed alteration was present. The diversity of sounds, whistles, multi-octave calls, overlapping chatter, give it an otherworldly realism that few hoaxes can sustain. For Barry's credibility, initially skeptical with a science background and journalistic integrity, he claimed to find no evidence of fabrication.
Right there, just see moving right through there.
Now here's where the evidence weakens. There's a lack of independent photographic and physical evidence, despite repeated visits. Ambient sounds suggest studio-like recordings, not outdoor field audio. Known human replications of the sounds with relative ease and available 1970s technology question the claim that these vocalizations defy human capability. And lastly, planted false footprints, confessed by insiders, undermine credibility. Despite debate, the Sierra sounds remain arguably the most famous alleged Sasquatch vocal recordings. They influenced later audio evidence, such as Ohio howls, and other regional Bigfoot reports referencing similar chatter. The recordings inspired books like Voices in the Wilderness by Morehead, and Bigfoot, Barry co-authored with Ann Slate, and continue to be sold and circulated through CDs and digital media. When asked directly, participants maintained their belief in authenticity to the end. Barry, who died in January of 2012, insisted that he had no evidence of fabrication. The Sierra Sounds occupy a fascinating gray zone. They present as elaborate, high-quality recordings with complex emotional and conversational tone, though captured under circumstances lacking independent verification. Skeptical voices highlight realistic possibilities of human replication, staged footprints, and the absence of ambient environmental audio. In contrast, supporters emphasize that expert analyses suggesting non-human origin and the consistency of unexpected linguistic patterns. At present, more than 50 years since the recordings, the question remains: Are the Sierra sounds evidence of unknown primate communication, or one of the most elaborate hoaxes in cryptozoology? Without reproducible recordings in similar circumstances or verified multimodal corroboration, photography, footprints cast under independent oversight, multiple devices, the recordings continue to captivate without fully convincing. These recordings, enigmatic, chilling, and polarizing, remain part of Bigfoot lore. Whether ever conclusively proven or disproven, the Sierra sounds continue to inspire debate and curiosity about what we may still not know about the deep wilderness and the possibility of unknown intelligences within it. And of course, this particular experience is only a small part of the lore surrounding dense forests or otherwise less populated areas. Across remote American forests from Oregon to Arkansas to Montana and Maryland, witnesses have shared reports of bizarre and often frightening sounds that defy easy explanation. These range from piercing screams to deep hums, rhythmic clunks, and even ghostly singing. The Mechanical Screams of Forest Grove, Oregon, 2016. In February 2016, residents of Forest Grove, Oregon were startled by high-pitched screaming noise that was heard at night, lasting just seconds to several minutes. It was described variously as a mechanical scream, an off-key violin, a steam whistle. Local authorities, including Fire and Public Works, were baffled, and they ruled out nearby gas leaks or machinery. The fire marshal likened it to metal on metal. The sound enveloped entire neighborhoods without obvious direction, and abruptly ceased after a few weeks. Despite calls to the police and media coverage, no source was ever confirmed. Deep humming and low frequencies, otherwise known as the hum phenomena. Across the U.S., individuals have reported persistent low-frequency humming, sometimes accompanied by vibration or anxiety, from regions such as Taos, New Mexico, the Taos hum, North Georgia, and other locales. In Taos, about 2% of residents claim to hear it. Acoustic testing failed to detect consistent environmental sources, suggesting that psychological factors or tinnitus-like sensitivity. Other theories posit industrial or geological origins. Some campers from North Georgia shared, quote, "a low-frequency but intense hum that continues throughout the night. I live in Augusta, Georgia, and I've been hearing what I believe you are describing." Others speculated about seismic activity or subtle technological sources like power lines. One wrote, "I wonder if you were hearing or feeling the edges of an infrasonic tone. It could be seismic in nature." Rhythmic clunks, whoops, and unknown animal calls. Remote forests in Oregon, Arkansas, and Montana have yielded unexpected sounds with uncertain origins. In the Mount Hood-Wilmette National Forest in Oregon, multiple hikers reported a loud, deep clunk that accelerated in pace for several seconds, described as akin to flipping a water jug. The phenomenon defied identification as any known wildlife. Oregon backcountry whoop calls. A hiker noted a sudden whoop from above while descending a slope in Washington state. An echo reminiscent of alleged Sasquatch vocalizations, but possibly something more natural like a wild turkey or another bird. The Ozark National Forest in Arkansas. A camper with dogs described a rhythmic, bass-like noise seeming to emanate from the forest. Felt rather than heard at first. The dogs stared fixedly into the woods. No definitive explanation followed. Crazy Mountains, Montana, September 2024. An elk scout reported a monster-like whooping or honking sound lasting about 10 seconds after which the forest fell completely silent. He had extensive wilderness experience, but this was unlike anything he'd encountered before. A haunting melody singing in Cumberland, Maryland. A camper reported hearing a woman singing at about 10 or 11 p.m. in a state campground near the Potomac River. The tune had no words, was melodic and directional, but no person or source was found. His dog stared into the woods, and although his young nephew had heard nothing, the singing was unmistakably real to him. Now, of course, when anything strange happens, there's always the opportunity for a possible explanation. So here's a few of those. Natural wildlife vocalizations. Many animals, bears, owls, coyotes, and insects produce vocal calls unfamiliar to casual listeners. For instance, black bears can emit startling shouts between cubs, or a mother and her young, sometimes preceded by humming through brush. Geological or atmospheric events, phenomena like skyquakes, explosive booms from atmospheric or seismic origins, have been reported worldwide since Lewis and Clark's era. These are heard in calm conditions, often without associated visual cues. Anthropogenic sources. Faulty mechanical systems, for example, attic fans or heat pumps, distant industrial noise, or high-voltage power lines, can create strange hums or squeals. In Forest Grove, Oregon, authorities suspected malfunctioning equipment, though reasons remained inconclusive. Psychological and perceptual factors. In cases like the Taos hum, auditory phenomena appear to affect only a subset of people, potentially of neurological or perceptual origin. Stress or suggestibility may contribute. And last but not least, cryptid or paranormal theories. Some experiences, whoops, synchronized calls, directional singing, are taken by some to imply undiscovered creatures or a paranormal presence. While most of these unexplained forest sounds likely have mundane origins, faulty machinery, wildlife, seismic rumblings, others retain a level of mystery. Communities such as Forest Grove, Taos, Cumberland, and various wilderness regions recount experiences too vivid to ignore, yet lacking a clear cause. Accounts often describe visceral fear or fascination. In some cases, dogs or animals react before humans consciously perceive the noise. The similarity in aspects, unexpected tone, eerie timing, directional uncertainty, and human physiology limits, invites curiosity and further investigation. Rigorous audio recording, spectral analysis, and multidisciplinary research may eventually shed light on some of these sonic enigmas. Until then, these strange acoustic encounters will continue to hover between wonder and the unknown, a testament to the elusive richness of the natural world. That's it for this week, dear listeners. Tune in next time for more tales of the creepy, weird, and paranormal. Until then, stay spooky. The Identity Podcast is brought to you by host Janine Mercer. It's written and edited by Janine Mercer unless otherwise stated, and the music is created using GarageBand. Find the Odd Pod on Insta at Identity Pod or on Facebook as The Identity Podcast. Please remember to share this episode with a friend, leave a 5-star review on the podcatcher of your choice, and mash that subscribe button so that you're in the know when a new episode drops.